Okay, I have started the recording and I'm now calling the September 8th meeting of the Brookline Pedestrian Advisory Committee session called to order. We have a quorum present. We have four members, myself, Janice, Jesse, and Anita, all participating remotely. Um, and so without further ado, uh, we will get started. Um, the first item, first agenda item is opportunity for, well, the first item was was a quorum check, which we just did. The second item is a public comment period for items that are not on the agenda. Does any member of the public wish to make comment at this time? Use the raise hand feature or let me know.
Just to add, David, Tommy is also, we have 5 members, right?
Yep.
You mentioned
We
4
have,
over here. We have 5.
I'm sorry. Did I?
Yeah, yeah. I don't
I'm
think
sorry.
that's
No
okay.
worries.
Jesse is good at catching me when I goof, and I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
I'm so sorry. Uh, okay, yes, you're right. We actually have 5 members present, all participating remotely via Zoom. Thank you very much, Jesse. Counting was not my strength. No, not seeing anyone wanting to make public comment, we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, and we'll start with update from Commission on Disability. So Lynn, go for it.
Hi, so tomorrow we're going to continue our subcommittee looking at the handicap parking spots in town. So there'll be 3 of us doing that tomorrow, and we're going to start streets heading into Cleveland Circle, but so from Beacon Streets, we're going to start at Pleasant Street and then look at some of the side streets off of Pleasant Street and then continue. We've already done Harvard Street. So we'll, I guess Center Street will be the next one after that. So we'll see how far we get and continue to send all the data into the town. And we're also going to be with Caitlin Starr at the Brookline Day. So we'll have some information on our commission. And actually, Jim, I wasn't sure what the little gifts were. Are they? Do you know what they were? We're going to hand out some things.
Yeah, I think they're just jar openers.
Jar openers. So that's what I
Yes.
thought. Okay, so we have some jar openers with the Commission on Disabilities. We used to have one, so and so we're going to be there. We're going to have. I think there's just 2 of us, so we'll be there for 2 hours. Is that correct, Jim? I didn't know if anyone else signed up.
It'll be Elaine Ober's going to be there 11 to 12, and then I'll be there 12 to 1, and then you 1 to 2.
Okay, so we're pretty well covered. So
yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We're meeting, actually this Wednesday, we are not meeting because some of us are going to attend the event at Coolidge Corner Theater. So we postponed our meeting till the following Wednesday. So hopefully we can get, I'm not sure if there'll be a question and answer period or we could just let our needs known about accessibility for Brookline. So we'll see what, I'm not sure how the forum's going to be, but
well, the latest announcement that came around, presume if you registered for the meeting, you should have received a confirmation, and it said the doors would open at 6:30. It also said there'd be some polling of the people present. So I think it's a smartphone thing where you basically are asked to respond on your smartphone to questions that are posed to the audience.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, you want to be sure that you're ready for that
when
it happens. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Just a minor curiosity. This is a question for Jim. Because a question had come up a meeting or 2 ago about, does our committee have a budget? No, we do not have a budget. As I said, if we need to spend some money, we have to pass the hat. And so you're handing out something at the at Brookline Day. Does a town pay for that?
Well, the Brookline Commission on Disability pays for it. And we have
so that's a town budget.
It is a town budget.
Okay.
It's I don't think this is a big secret. I think that every commission on disability. Oh, no, I know. But I think that every commission on disability receives the fines for when people park in accessible spots who are not who do not have a disability. So we do get a budget every year, and it refreshes every June, every fiscal
Okay.
year.
Okay, so that is not just sort of outreach like the Brookline Day, but that's also like, as you said, sort of enforcement for those flags.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
And we're able to do a scholarship for the,
Yeah.
every year with that money.
yeah.
oh.
Yeah, we do
okay.
we do two $2,500 scholarships each year for Brookline High School students who have a disability and want to continue their education.
That's cool.
Yep.
Okay, very nice. Glad to hear that. Okay, Lynn, were you done?
I think so. Anything else, Jim, that you can
Mhm.
think of? We're going to meet
No.
next week, so.
But yeah, we have to, because of that thing on September 10th, we postponed until next week. And so our meeting will be on the 17th, and we'll be talking about the MBTA project. The MBTA is coming in to the BCOD next Wednesday, and then they're going right over to the Transportation Board right after our meeting. So it'll be a big night.
Yeah, and I just saw that there was a notice just came in late this afternoon about the trees along along Beacon Street that I gather there have been signs posted to the trees about these are trees that are targeted for removal. So evidently there are going to be some hearings about the trees too, and that's all in connection, I assume, in connection with the Green Line Accessibility Project.
David, can I just ask real quick? So those trees have been marked?
That's what the notice that I received in email. Hold on, let me just see if I can find it. It just came in. Where did I see that? Hmm.
I saw so I saw some signs on the trees at the Tappan Street stop just a couple of days ago. But I wasn't it's funny because when I saw them, I wasn't sure if they were official signs of notice about it or if it was somebody taking it upon themselves to put them
Okay,
up.
so this email I'm seeing, it's on the Town Meeting Members Association list. And it's from Carlos Tordijo. Says, Dear TMMMs, the tree planting committee will meet remotely on Wednesday, September 10th at 5 p.m. Included is the public hearing on the tree removal at MBA Tappan Street Station and the MBTA Englewood Avenue Station. Complete agenda, blah, blah. And it says, my understanding is that all of these trees have a notice of the public hearing affixed to them. And then this notice has a list of, it looks like about 10 trees. Say, oh, I see, this is submitted by, also forwarded by Carla Banca. So that's, TMA I can certainly forward that to people that didn't hit me that it wasn't a general notice to the public.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we do not have, Keith Lacy here for a police update, and we don't have Jonathan here for a Beacon Street Vital Path, though we did just talk about something related to Beacon Street. And so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is review and approval of the minute from the August 18th meeting. So is there any discussion, comments, questions, additions, changes with regard to those minutes as distributed? And I'm referring to the minutes that I prepared. I'll subsequent to this, I'll ask about people's reactions to the AI summary. So seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as distributed?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Somebody? Okay, thank you, Tommy. Roll call vote. And this, hopefully I'll remember everybody. Tommy,
I
Janice,
I wasn't intending.
believe it or not, and I said this, I think at the last meeting, I had found that according to the town handbook, the new handbook
Full
for
vote, yeah.
public bodies, you don't have to attend at the meeting to vote for approving the minutes. So you
Oh,
can't vote if
okay.
you want.
And absolutely, because I read every word.
Okay, good. Jesse?
Yes, I on the minutes. Yes, I was not at the meeting. And yes, you did an amazing job of summarizing. I felt like I was there again. Thank you. So,
I agree.
Okay, and Anita?
Yes.
Okay, so we are 5-0 on that. Now, what did people, I also distributed without editing it, the summary that Zoom AI generated. I guess I was struck by my own reaction. It was two things, two-part. One is that it did an amazing job of listing a lot of action items. Though it couldn't quite figure out who it's supposed to assign action items to. And we wind up assigning action items to guests, which we don't normally do. We may make requests of guests, but we don't normally assign things again. And then the summary of the actual discussion is much shorter and misses a lot of the details and information. But what do people think about it? I mean, is it? I find, sorry, go ahead. Let me just open up for discussion. What do people think about the AI generated summary? Yeah, Janice?
So as Jesse said, I read your detailed minutes and I actually did feel like I was there. I thought it was really, really good. And then I went and I looked at the Zoom minutes and I actually overall was impressed with especially the summary. So to your point that, there's clearly some inaccuracies in some of the capture of the action items would have to be corrected. But it did a far better job than I thought. And yet I didn't have the feeling that I was actually at the meeting. I felt that when I read your minutes.
Okay. Any other comments on it? I mean, I think my intent is to keep after, from now on, I will probably always take a look at it because it's helpful memory jogs for me in terms of things I'm supposed to do, or maybe to help me remember that I'm supposed to remind other people to do certain things. I don't think it's quite enough for an actual meeting minutes. I prefer the fuller description. So my notion is that I probably would not continue to distribute it unless people think that would be helpful to do. I'd be happy to do that.
again, I guess my observation on this, David, is there is another website like Muni AI or something like that, and you can find many of the Brookline meetings that are being summarized through an AI bot and then republished that way. And this reads sort of like one of those where you get nowhere near the same feel that you get for the sort of the personalized way in which you not only provide a context but also sort of get into the details. On the municipal site that's doing it, you don't get the details. It's very similar to this. But I guess my question is, besides the couple of mistakes, it actually it leaves out a lot of detail, like summaries of numbers, estimates, all kinds of things like that. It sort of shortened it up. And I wonder what it would do if you had told it, give me something that's like twice as long as this. In other words, expand a little bit. If you told it to, listen to the same meeting, but see what it has in here, and then say, like, for example, the page 4 where it talks about traffic calming policy update, it says Amy expects the construction will be about $12,000 per speed hump. Now, an important thing to mention in your notes, which you did, was that there are 34 of them and it's 430 something thousand, which completely uses the entire budget for 2026. So, and the question that you pointed out in there was, do we really want to spend the entire budget on one set of traffic calming on 5 streets? So whether or not where people land on whether or not, the thing is, it gives it the context to understand the full picture, whereas the AI shorter summary sort of left out so much that you'd have a little bit of knowledge, but you really wouldn't understand the sort of how it settles out. So I wonder what this would do if it was said, hey, this is too short, because I've done that with ChatGPT sometimes, or Gemini. Just say, this is a great summary, but could you give me some more details? And it'll actually go through and it'll start to feed more things in, and whether that would it won't get to the quality of what you're doing anytime, in our lifetimes. I mean, but really, for a high level of someone that just wants to read through, that doesn't have time to get through all the detail you put in, this isn't too bad.
That was sort of my reaction. This was the first time I mean, I had tried this a year or more ago and been horribly disappointed by
Right.
how poor the summary was. And when I looked at this one this time, I was amazed at the progress that they had made. It was just so much better, but still not quite good enough. Jesse, what site were you talking about where there's at the town stuff being AI summaries being put out?
I want to say I have to check it. It's maybe Civic AI meeting summaries or something. I'll try to find it and send it to you.
That would be great. I would appreciate that because I would take a look. I really haven't paid attention to those that much. So yeah, I have not found, I could look again. A while back, I tried when I first discovered that Zoom had an AI feature, I did a lot of querying within Zoom, generally on Google, to the extent to which I could actually point Zoom AI to a previous recording of a meeting and get it to summarize that meeting. And I could never get an answer to any way to do that. Now, maybe there is a way, but I couldn't find it. And at least recently, I have not found any settings within Zoom that dictate the level of, unlike your experience, Jesse, with ChatGPT, Genesis, whatever, where you could ask it to do a fuller description of a fuller summary. I'll go in and see if they've added some kind of toggle or something like that, some slider for level of detail you want in a summary. I don't think so, but I will take a look. It's a good question. Good question. And another question I asked myself, and I haven't actually tried it. I was running a little late this time, is whether I could start with the AI summary and then edit that to provide more detail. So whether it would be a good starting point or whether I would find I was having to rewrite and correct so much that it wasn't. Sometimes it's very hard to instill more nuance into somebody else's description. So I haven't tried that, but I will probably try that for another meeting, maybe for this meeting. Okay.
Yeah, just one other comment,
Yeah.
David, that besides using Zoom's feature, there are other applications on the internet to which you can load in the full audio or just the full video of the recorded Zoom meeting, and there are other AI tools that will automatically transcribe and generate the summaries with the key decisions and action items. So I'm not saying invest a ton of time in it, but the thing is, there are other options available than using just what Zoom has to provide templates for how you want the summaries to be. Because one of the things that I saw in what Zoom did for you is that it made a huge bullet list, and it would have been nice to see all the things that Amy did, and all the things that you, and all the things that Tommy, and all the things that Anita, sort of like maybe tabulated in some way, that so it wasn't a huge 50 bullet list just because each person said something. So there are many tools that are vying for doing a good job here. So we could look, or I could send you some options of other.
Yeah, feel free to send me some options for me to try out. I haven't played with any of those myself. Once again, I did some general, this was probably a year ago, and so probably no longer up to date. I did a year ago. I did some general Googling about, give me an AI tool to which I can feed a video or audio recording. And of course you want something, or frankly, a transcript. The transcripts comes in a
Yes.
In a format that I have not figured out how to use effectively.
Okay.
It's a very detailed, it's really intended for attaching closed captions to a video recording so that you can have the closed caption as well as the video, but I haven't figured out how to use it. So we have actually 3 forms from each meeting. We have the video, we have the audio, and we have the transcript files. And so if there's something to which I can feed one of those, and it's important, I think, I'm not sure that the audio transmits the names of who's speaking. The video does, the transcript does. So I'm not sure that the audio does. I don't know how that works. And that's so you would want to know who's speaking at a particular point for accurate minutes. Okay, yeah, send me some ideas and I can play with them. Happy to learn. Okay, so there we are on minutes. And the next item on the agenda is this brochure, draft brochure for the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And so I have to admit that, you know, as of our August meeting, I was a little bit skeptical that we would actually manage to come up with something, but by Jove, we have something that I think is pretty decent. So I want to know what other, I printed out in 2 different colors. Jonathan's original orange, and I did a lot of experimenting, came up with green. And I think I can't remember whether I don't think I sent this to everybody, but I found a site, a page on the Staples website where you can basically submit the front and back for a brochure, and it looks like you can order them and they'll come already pre-folded like this in the trifold, and even available if you get them in early enough in the day for same-day pickup, which is pretty cool. So so I want people's comments, suggestions. Do we need to tweak it? What do we need to do? Is it good enough as is? What does everybody think? And I guess a way to think about it is, if a brochure like this is out there, you're a member of the committee, you feel good about having this, a brochure like this particular brochure, this draft, representing the committee that you're a member of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it checks all the boxes, right? As far as what you want from a brochure. It's got the basics in there and tells people how to get involved. That's kind of it, right? I mean, it's like the elevator speech of writing.
Is somewhat of the intent here, to try in a relatively short, I mean, there are more words than you would be able to communicate in an elevator, but still not a huge lengthy, nothing like our 55-page walkable street document.
Right.
What do others think?
I was just going to say that on the accomplishments, the second one, I wouldn't necessarily say by checking 55 intersections. I think people would just, the exact number, I'd say by maybe over 50 to date or something like that. Or something, unless that was exact number of what was done. It seemed to me to be a detail that people, you know, the average person wouldn't need to remember that it was 55.
That's a good point.
I think it's because it sticks in my mind because I'm the one who stood at every one of them.
I got it.
And but that's different from whether it's effective to say that. As I said, I think that's why I mentioned the specific number there. But
All right, good.
but that's fine. Over 50 is just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. In fact, I think that's better. Okay, I can make that change. What do other people think?
Well,
Yeah, Janice.
I applaud, I don't know who worked on it, Jonathan and Carrie, I believe.
Jonathan is the one who really came up with this template and the general format. And then Jonathan and I went back and forth tweaking. I had also shared this with Abby Swain and Marissa, who sent in some suggestions about taking some words out and increasing the font to make it more visible because it was started out in a smaller font. So they made a number of formatting suggestions, which we incorporated. And so, but it was, I would say that it's with those suggestions, then it was mostly Jonathan for the overall form, and some tweaking on my part or coming up with the text. So
Well,
that's sort of how it developed. Yeah.
I think it's great. It's in fact, you can't see it, but I wrote color. So I also thought it should be green.
I like the green.
So I like the green better than this color. And I think the walk light stands out a little bit more. It just, at least in my printout and looking at it, it looked a little dark.
Okay.
So I think the green makes it pop, and I think it's more eye-catching, and I think of green as kind of a more positive color. So I thought that was great. On the accomplishments, I agree with Jesse's comment. I think, I believe we've influenced policy in other areas. For example, the managing the speed limits right on red, things like that. I don't know. We have some of our accomplishments, whether we want to capture that as well. Because I went through the walkable streets and what our priorities were. And, we have influenced some of the things that we saw as priorities. So I don't know if that's something we want to add, or this is sufficient. And
Yeah,
then I have a space
I
question, key facts.
well, yeah, exactly. It's a space issue. And
Mhm.
so if anyone wants to try, um, what I think is that I wouldn't, so right now, the accomplishments are pretty
Right,
much
that's right, that's right.
filling that space. I wouldn't want to extend that space if somebody can either find good ways um, to shorten. If you will, one of the tricky things is that we are a committee that doesn't actually have the authority to make
Right,
decisions.
right.
So we act by influencing other people, and
That's
frankly,
right.
it takes more words to say that.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about accomplishments, it's less what sort of what we did, that we got other people to do. And so it makes it a little wordier than otherwise. Um, so I think we're at the point where to add something in, we have to take something out.
Mhm. Or
And
maybe rephrase, like the one about the transportation board, because we do work so closely with the transportation board.
uh-huh.
So maybe there's something there. I'll look at that. But overall, I think it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, by all means, if you can suggest changes that would let us slip something else in, I'd really appreciate that, having that tonight or tomorrow morning, because I wanted to do a test print with
Print.
Staples just to see what they look like. I mean,
Yeah,
it may
sure.
turn out that when they're actually printed, they don't come out as nicely as I hope, but so I want to
Yeah.
do a test. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and
yeah,
the other question that I had is, I don't know the status of because it says report issues on the Brook Online app. We also have the near miss. I don't know if that's been formally rolled out.
yeah, it actually is.
Yeah, it is.
If you use the QR code
Yep.
to go to that page, the Brook Online page, the near miss portal is actually mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually there.
Okay.
Is the
And I
plan?
have to confess, I haven't reported anything recently because I haven't had a near miss recently. Maybe the existence
Right.
of the portal is making it safer.
Is the plan to have some of these ready for Brookline Day?
That's the plan. And sorry, I didn't say. So I have contacted Amy Ingles and asked her about having some of these brochures available for public pickup at a DPW table at Brookline Day. And she said she thought that was a good idea and she would check into it. So she was positive about it. We'll see what reaction you get. I essentially for years, I always work Brookline Day. I take a shift at the Brookline Community Aging Network table, and I could probably slip in a few of the brochures there too. Um, I'm sure no one would object to that, but I would double check. Um, but yeah, the best thing would be to have it available at DPW, I think.
Did you broach with Amy what a DPW would produce, like 100 of them? So there's their budget to do it, or are you gonna just give them to her?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, that I figured that was probably a longer negotiation.
Okay,
So I was just going to pay out of pocket for the first, and I wasn't gonna do a huge number, maybe about 50. I wasn't
okay,
gonna do hundreds. Because this is an initial test. And we want to see how many people pick up, and maybe they'll pick up a lot, and maybe they won't. Maybe we'll run out in the first hour. Who knows? Maybe there'll be tons left over. I just don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
It's a really good step forward, though.
yeah, that's the important thing. And then when other events come up, we have something available. There's not really much of a time stamp on this. I mean, this brochure is fairly general, and so it works it'll work for a substantial period of time.
Yes.
So I hear a general agreement with going ahead with this. I guess we should take a vote on that. Do I hear? I think so. I think I'm looking for a motion to move ahead with. I think that what I've heard from people saying they like the green color better. So print up some of the green brochures and have them, assuming we get approval, have them available to hand out at Brookline Day. Is that what I hear? Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
George seconded.
Okay, roll call vote. Tommy,
Aye.
Janice,
Aye.
Jesse,
Aye.
and did we lose Anita? I think we lost Anita. She's coming back in. I vote aye. Anita, we're taking a vote on proceeding with the brochure and with the green color and having it available. Do you agree? You're muted.
Yes.
Okay, so we will do that, and yes, and I'll let you know what happens in terms of whether we get the green light, no pun intended, from DPW to have them available at a DPW table. So that would be terrific. All right, very good. Now, follow up on town meeting. I mean, well, on the town handbook. So I had asked people to respond to a sort of a status query of where we stand on these things that the town handbook says committee members are supposed to do. And so let me see if I can share my screen, and I'm just going to go around the room and do the virtual room and do a quick poll. Oh, okay, so can people see a little spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, so my idea is just to go around the room and fill this out in terms of, this is a status report. Okay, where are we as of today? And then hopefully we keep this front until we all are compliance, basically. Now, I haven't had much of a reaction from Brian Kane, Transportation Board, and Transportation staff yet. As I can't remember if I've mentioned this. I wrote to Transportation staff and to Brian Kane, Transportation Board Chair, saying there really needs to be a new process whereby every time a new member is appointed or reappointed to one of these advisory committees, there needs to be a message sent out telling them what they need to do to be in compliance with this handbook. And they're going to be talking. Amy wrote back to me and said they were going to be discussing this with Brian this week. So hopefully we'll hear more about that, about a new process being put into place to make this more regular. So we're not playing catch up. But right now we're playing catch up. Okay. Janice, have you been sworn in for this committee?
No, I wasn't sworn in. But I didn't even know about the swearing in.
Okay. So now you know about it.
Right.
And you need to contact the clerk's office and get sworn in.
Okay.
So, have you been through OML and COI training?
Yes.
Okay. And did you furnish your certificates?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
And
great.
I did it
Yep.
on, but I think I pointed out to you, it was done on 12/12/2022.
Wait a minute. No, no, no. Oh, okay. Yes, good point. You'll have to do it again, you know.
Well, that's what I said to you. It said, when I was
Yeah,
reading,
right.
it sounded like you had to do it every 2
Yeah,
years.
so you will be, I forgot, Janice and I had an exchange about this. And so, in fact, I should contact Transportation and Brian. So Janice's term on this committee officially ended September 1st. And she's up for reappointment. And so I need to contact them. And then after you're reappointed, you're supposed to go through the OML stuff again. And so then she can take care of all this stuff then. So hopefully within the next month, that'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
Anita, you still with us?
Yes, I'm so sorry. My connection has been intermittent today.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. So did you manage to get sworn in? You were going to do that.
Yes, I did.
Okay, you've been sworn in. And what about the OML and COI training?
I don't,
Yeah, you're intermittent. You cut out. Okay, while we're waiting for, yeah, we lost you for a minute there. Have you done the COI and OML training?
I haven't had one recently, no.
Okay. So that you need to arrange. And so clearly, if you haven't done the training, you haven't furnished certificates. Jesse, what about you?
No, I don't believe I was sworn in for this committee. I was sworn in for town meeting and for school committee, but not for this.
Yeah, they say you have to be sworn in separately
Yeah,
for
I
each
mean,
thing you're
I'll
appointed to.
be there tomorrow. I'll see if I can find a time when the clerk's there.
All right, that would be great. I appreciate it. Now, what about OML and COI?
I believe I went through it. I don't remember getting certificates. I know I went through it again for school committee as well. Also, they didn't provide any certificates, so
Yeah, school
I'll have
committee
to-
was just last year, so
it was. So I will,
that should be recent enough to count. So if you can find something.
but I don't have any yeah, just put down no for right now, and I'll have to, I'll have, yeah, or not recently or something, and I'll,
I'm gonna say last year for school committee. That was last year, right? Yeah.
yes. Yeah, but I don't recall having to furnish, any certification to the town.
Yeah, again, I think this is they've been trying to update and document the procedures, and now, as I said,
Okay.
we're sort of playing catch up. So
I'm okay to go
one-
through it. Yeah, I'm okay to go through it. I read it. I was aware of it when you made me aware of it in the minutes from the last meeting, and I'll get it done.
David, does the town have a record of which one of us have completed this training?
I have no idea. Why don't you ask them? Why don't you ask? Why don't you ask
Yeah, I don't even know where they
clerk's
keep the
office?
certificates, so.
Okay, I will. Did we
Tommy,
have to go through it to be town meeting members, Jesse?
No, not that I recall.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Tommy,
So I don't actually know if I've been sworn in for the committee. I don't recall.
so why don't you contact
Yeah,
town
I've got to get.
clerk's
Yeah.
office and arrange it. Now, what about the OML and COI training?
I have done that. Yes. Yep.
And
Just this
do you
year.
know, huh?
Just this
when?
year. Like just in like
Okay,
February.
okay, good.
Yep.
And do you remember whether you furnished certificates to the clerk's
Believe
office?
so. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna think so. Is that accurate, or is that a solid
Yes.
yes?
I believe so. I don't know for
Okay,
sure.
I'm gonna call it yes. Okay, and we'll catch up with Jonathan and Carrie later.
David,
Okay.
how do we access this training that we need
It's in the handbook,
in the handbook?
which I've
Okay,
distributed, and is even in the meeting materials for this meeting today.
okay,
All right. And so there's a packet that you download. It's one document set. So it comes across as one file that you download from the Attorney General's office. Now I'm talking about OML here. And it has the FAQs. It has an explanation of the open meeting law. It has FAQs about the open meeting law, and it has the text of the open meeting law. And the idea is to go through all of those. And then at the end, there's a form that you fill out, and you just sign the form and saying, yeah, I went through all this. And that's the form that you submit. So here it is on page 7. It says swearing in and compliance. So I remember I urged everybody to read through this handbook. Please, if you haven't yet, read through the handbook, because this is, as I said, they've really been trying to update and pull together all of these requirements. I didn't know that I was supposed to go through OML and COI training again after I got reappointed 2 years ago to this committee. I didn't know that, and I didn't do it. So I did it the day before our last meeting, when I realized I needed to do that. And then I submitted, as it says in the form, I actually submitted the certificates on the day of our last meeting in August. So anyway, the links are in this document, and the document is in the meeting materials. Okay, it's been in the meeting materials for 2 meetings. So it's right there.
I was going to add one other question, David. You mentioned in the last set of, maybe in the meeting minutes, that members of a committee should have email addresses that are not their personal ones. And yet I noticed that in the brochure draft, green and orange, you had your own personal email in there rather than a PEDAC at
Well,
gmail.com for yourself. So I wondered if
I,
are you planning to make a change?
yeah, I thought I had explained this. Basically, this recommendation, I mean, I joined this committee back in 2017.
Right, I read
And
it.
I started using my personal email address and having my personal email address being up there. I mean, I became chair at the end of 2018.
Yes.
And so for all that time, that's been the email address that people have known to contact this committee. And I felt that, and so this suggestion, when I was elected to town meeting in 2022, I did establish a second email address for purposes of that. But it didn't make sense to me to change what I was using for the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So that was the suggestion. As I said, I thought about I did it for town meeting because
Right.
I knew there would be a whole slew of stuff I wanted to keep separate. And had I thought about it, I probably would have done that back in 2017, but I didn't think about it. So that's the situation. So it's like, this is one of those do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
Not a problem. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But yeah, it's a good recommendation, and it's in that new handbook, and it's a recommendation. It's a suggestion. It's not a requirement. It's just it helps people keep things separate and avoid things getting lost. And believe me, I get things lost. Okay, so let me stop sharing. I appreciate our going through that. And we are moving through the agenda at an incredibly rapid pace, so I anticipate that this may be a shorter meeting than usual, and so that's really good. But the next thing, and I'm just jumping ahead because Lynn had already mentioned it under brief mentions on the agenda, mention again the September 10th talk that Jeff Speck is giving on a more walkable Brookline. There was a notice that came around, I think maybe about 2 days ago, which seemed to say that there are still seats available. So if somebody has not signed up and wants to attend that talk, there may still be. It's worth checking in to register for it. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Jeff Speck is not only a well-respected writer and thinker about making our cities walkable. Years ago, we actually created, or actually friends of the town bought and distributed to all members of our committee a copy of Walkable City Rules by Jeff Speck. And it's a good reference. It's if you haven't looked at any Jeff Speck's books, Walkable City and Walkable City Rules. They're both good things. So I look forward. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's well worth uh listening to and hearing what he has to say. So I look forward to that. It seems to be that connected with the whole consideration of the Coolidge Corner parking lot and what should happen in that general area. So this will be good. Now, the question, and we don't have everybody here, so we'll probably talk this over more than one meeting, but is how can this committee best serve the town and best serve pedestrians in this town? So we've done a bunch of stuff. And back in 2023, in the Walkable Streets Priorities, we made a bunch of recommendations. So I'd hope that people would take a look and come in with some top choices of what we should be doing next. So what do people think?
Well, I can tell you that my big thing is making sure that we have crosswalks at every intersection where we have a sidewalk. You know, there's still plenty of places we've got sidewalks that go into intersections, and then there's curb cuts, there's sidewalks, there's roads, and there's no painted intersection. And that doesn't sit super well with me. I'm really happy that this week we got a crosswalk finally put in across Dean Road at the end of Pennyman near us, which is nice. But, you know, I think keeping that moving forward, you know, if you can walk someplace, you should be able to cross the street someplace. And you should have a crosswalk to cross the street when you get there. That's a big one for me.
Okay. Actually, that's an interesting point that you made. I think a very good one. That there are many places that have the curb ramps already. Because one of the things that we hear is, well, putting in a new crosswalk is a problem. Is an expense because you have to create the curb ramps. Well, you're talking about places where there already are curb ramps, and so maybe they can put in a crosswalk without having to update the curb ramps, but I don't know. That's worth asking. So that's a good
And
one.
that happened right here too. So it's the same kind of issue that we've identified before, where you get these curb cuts that are kind of almost at a like 45-degree angle relative to where the crosswalks would be,
Yeah.
but they just painted it anyway because you can still step down, or if you were in a wheelchair, roll down and still be in the crosswalk. So I think if you place the crosswalks appropriately, even if you have curb cuts that don't necessarily go directly perpendicular, it should still be okay. I think you can still
Yeah.
make it work.
I'm back from 7 years ago when they redid Babcock Street. I was very happy that we went from one crosswalk to 9 crosswalks, and I think it really helps send a signal that, you know, there are pedestrians here. Be careful.
Yeah, and you know, I think car drivers and things notice them, even if, you know, even I've noticed just having it for a week, just over here, cars can see it in the road in front of them and they go, oh, I need to pay attention. Just that little bit. And even though we don't have any signage up yet over here, people are still stopping when they see people waiting on the curb now, which is really, really nice. So yeah.
That is good. I'm glad to hear that. Very good. That's on Dean Road.
Yep. Right.
Wow.
Just like a little bit down from
Okay.
Chestnut Hill
Very
here.
good. Okay. Others.
So I also had crosswalks as a top priority. I think there's an opportunity to add more crosswalks, maintain the crosswalks, put more signage around crosswalks, you know, the yellow signs that indicate that there's a crosswalk, to bring more attention to it. So I also had crosswalks as, you know, one of the priorities as well. I also think we should continue to focus on sidewalks, you know, sidewalk obstructions, sidewalk route issues, access to sidewalks. I think that's critically important. And then I also had traffic lights. You asked about field work, and I think we should still continue to look at the performance of traffic lights whether they're functioning, what's the experience from a pedestrian perspective. You know, we're still having incredible challenges, you know, on Harvard Street with, you know, some of those traffic lights from a pedestrian perspective. So I had crosswalks as my number one, sidewalks, and then traffic lights for safe pedestrian crossing.
Okay, when you mentioned Harvard Street, where in particular are you thinking?
The one that we've talked a lot about, your,
Babcock Street?
yeah, Babcock Street.
Oh, okay.
You know, but sometimes there's other ones that aren't functioning properly and pedestrians are
A
waiting
question,
and
should we be complaining to the town as individuals about intersections? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And when there's something that isn't working properly, we should
know.
be. I mean, just enter it into Brook Online. Now, okay,
I mean, adding
Brook-
pedestrian
Brook-
crosswalks, for example.
no,
Um,
that's hard to do with Brook Online. That's something where, you know, what we probably should do is have all of our members, just as you're walking around, identify some sample intersections that have curb cuts but don't have crosswalks. And that we could use those as examples, and maybe this committee can send a memo to the Transportation Board and DPW saying, we urge you to, you know, continue adding crosswalks for the pedestrian safety. Here are some examples where curb cuts already exist. And so hopefully it can be done without great expense. So we'll, you know, in a way, it seems to me that what we would be proposing is very much in keeping with what transportation and the board have been doing in trying to simplify the rules and the process for getting, for example, traffic calming in place. So they're trying not to be as elaborate as in the past. And while that means you don't get as many benefits, you still get the most important benefit, which is slow traffic down. So it may be that, as Tommy was saying, just having the crosswalk, even before the signage is there, still has an impact. And so maybe, you know, what we can say is that, you know, any improvements here, adding crosswalks, even if the signage has to come later, is still a boon. Now, like so many things, I'm not prejudging this, I'm just saying, just reminding us that when you create a crosswalk, then there's an operating, there's an
Right now,
ongoing
right now.
Well,
maintenance
it goes in and
expense of
out.
repeat.
Maybe
And when you
something,
say
I'm sorry, Anita,
freezing?
you talking?
freezing,
Okay.
maybe upstairs, something's going on. Are you turned off?
Did it
yet?
just go out?
It goes out
Did it just freeze?
every couple of minutes. Yeah, I can't hear
Okay,
anything.
Anita, sounds like you're talking with John, so I will mute you right now. I muted you, so you unmute yourself when you're ready to talk again.
Yeah, I'm having a terrible problem, intermediate blockouts
Yeah.
here, and I'm asking John to help me.
Yeah, I gathered. Okay. So anyway, I think maybe we come back to the, you know, the next meeting. And so everybody, please identify some examples where it would be useful to add a crosswalk and where the curb ramps are already in place. I mean, I can think of some examples myself. I think I'd have to double check this. I think even along Abbotsford, there are some cases where there are curb ramps, but not crosswalks, but I'll need to double check that. I may be misremembering. So yeah, come up with examples. Others, Jesse, you haven't spoken yet. Did you have some specifics you thought we should work on next?
Well, the one that is pretty important to a lot of people who walk in the evenings and at night is the lack of adequate pedestrian lighting. You and I have talked about this for 8 or 9 years.
Yep.
I don't think that anybody would argue with the fact that painting crosswalks, which is pretty important, is still a lot cheaper than the you know, whatever number of thousands of dollars per 6 or 8 feet along a roadway that you have to do to get the wiring underground, the controlling software, and then the pole itself and the light, and then worry about light pollution into the houses next door, as well as trees and the blockage of the light, like you have on Winchester Street for seniors that are going to the senior center after dark. And as well now, as the days get shorter, more and more of the late afternoon and evening to a situation where senior citizens have to navigate bad sidewalks with poor light. So, I mean, I'm 100% on board with the crosswalks. Every one of them that we add is important for sure. And we should, continue to emphasize praising the town, thanking them so that they get good feedback from Pedestrian Advisory about the fact that we're noticing it and that it has real impact, especially around schools, but even in just all of our walkable neighborhoods. But the other one would be lighting, and that's just something we're gonna, we're taking a long view on it because it's going to be expensive. But there, besides sidewalk safety itself for pedestrians, that is people who are who have some kind of disability, even just their balance, older folks or something, or vision. The sidewalk situation is like top priority, and it is horrible in a lot of the town just because we have, 150 miles or more of sidewalks. And the lighting for those sidewalks in many parts of town are pretty poor. So we've talked about the need for it. We produced, a report on it. We asked that every capital project include adequate, not only adequate, but good pedestrian lighting for both pedestrians as well as bikers who are near the sidewalks, whether they're between the car and the curb or out after the cars. The lighting for pedestrians can spill over quite nicely and help out bikers at night as well. It's not even, maybe for them to see where they're going, I'm not too worried, but for other people to see them, which is really important for car drivers. So the one that I would, sort of circle as a long-term but important thing that we have to continue to emphasize is pedestrian street lighting.
I agree that is incredibly important. In fact, I was just reading a long article yesterday. It was basically a number of medical professionals talking about the increase in number of fatalities, basically fatalities among the elderly from falls. They're not clear right now. There's some disagreement about are we just reporting the cause of death better, or is there really an increase? But there's also an increased reliance on medications among the elderly that can cause, basically interfere with your balance and can lead to falls. And so there has been a rise in reports of fatalities from falls among senior citizens over the last few years. And so this is a concern. And you're absolutely right that, we can cite that, and the lighting absolutely plays into that. It's really important.
Yeah, I was just going to say at the same time, this is just a detail. Maybe Lynn can shed some light on it for me. The difference between stepping off a sidewalk curb and suddenly seeing a sloped surface in front of you, which are these curb cuts, ADA compliant kinds of things with the bumps, doesn't always work for all people, because I know for folks in my social circle who say are using either a walker or walking sticks to navigate, when they're fine walking on the sidewalk and then they see the end of the curb and it's like taking a step at home. You know how to lower your body correctly to go from one level surface to another. The difference is watching them navigate a sudden angle down to the street where, yes, there's something to slow them down a little bit because of the little nibbies in the plastic or rubber. But the thing is, it is a grade change. And I've seen situations where people, or even kids, speed up a little bit for those couple seconds getting down to the street level because they're going down the slope that we've intentionally placed there so that they can get down to the street level. And so sometimes I question whether that puts, especially an elderly person who's sort of moving their feet slowly on a level surface, they get to the slope to get down to the street on our ADA ramp, and what happens is they speed up a little bit and they pitch forward. They've got to sort of adjust their balance, which is a different set of motions than it takes to step off a curb onto the street.
That's a good point. You see it with kids on scooters too.
Yeah.
With my kids, they get a little too close and they go to hit the brakes, and all of a sudden they go, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, exactly, Tom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you for noticing that, because it is an issue. First, like lighting, just use Jim as an example. He had lights on his wheelchair, and they were very important. He could not see the sidewalk going when it was dark. Like when we would go out at night in Brookline, he definitely needed the lighting, and also the curb cuts. Jim had to see the curb cut, and if it was at night, he had to recline in his wheelchair back. Otherwise, he would have fallen forward.
Right, exactly.
So,
Just a
so
comment.
you actually noticed that he definitely had to, as soon as the curb cut, he was at it, he'd recline his wheelchair, so he wasn't falling forward.
Just sort of unintentional consequence, you know.
Mhm.
The other comment about accessibility, and David, this is just a, hopefully it's almost done, but this past Friday evening on Boylston Street, National Grid was cutting up the gas lines for the 35th time in 35 weeks. And what they did for the weekend when they stopped overnights is they put fencing around the dig spot where they were working at the sidewalk, which left about literally 8 inches of the sidewalk that you could walk between their fence and a stone wall, which of course you couldn't get through. So it forced all of us walking Friday evening and the next morning to a walk line. So if you were pushing a baby carriage or something like that, you were actually either walking with the traffic coming up behind you on Boylston, or this is near across in the Brookline Reservoir, or you were walking in in Boylston Street at the traffic, coming at you in the lanes. Of course, it's a 40 to 45 mile an hour speed limit there, so the cars are coming at you pretty fast. And it was a little bit odd that they allowed them to do that overnight and basically block the sidewalk with no provision for putting additional traffic cones or any other kinds of mechanisms around their work site that said, here's the sidewalk. There just was nothing to do but walk into the highway. So, and again, under poor lighting conditions too, of course, because they're, they're occasional, there's street lamps on Boylston down the middle, but they're separated by about 150 feet. So you can end up in these pools of darkness as well. So, and if you were in
that's really poor. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask who controls. So the if you will, the roadway itself, of course, is state control. And so presumably it's the state that issued work permits. When they go onto the sidewalk, it's not clear to me who has jurisdiction on the sidewalk, and so that's something that's I need to ask.
Yeah, and the problem is they were gone for the day, right? So there's no Brookline police or state police to say, hey, what'd you do? So anyway.
Yeah.
Not
No,
really.
that's well worth asking about and reporting. Thanks.
I called the DPW about a sidewalk on St. Paul Street where the construction crew actually put their fencing on the sidewalk, so you couldn't. It was just a small little area to get through, and it was fixed really quickly. I didn't put it on online. I just called directly to the DPW and said that the sidewalk was completely blocked by the construction fencing with concrete blocks.
Yeah.
And they fixed it.
Yeah, some months ago, I encountered something like that. There was work going on it was at the corner of either Winchester and Fuller or Center and Fuller. There was working on the wall, and they again blocked the sidewalk with the fencing and didn't allow a good path around it. So that's poor. Okay. Let's see. Any other thoughts from anyone about key things? These are some good things for us to focus on and think what to do about it. And so what I would like to do is, the ideas that have come up so far is put these specific ideas on the agenda for our next meeting. And then talk about, okay, here are the things, what should we do about these? Okay. What else? Anything else that struck people as something to focus on? But these are good ideas. Okay, then I think that, oh, well, let's go back to the question I asked in the agenda. And we've talked a little bit about this. Right now, the group that's doing the most in terms of on-site observations seems to be the Commission on Disability, going out and checking all of these handicap spots. That's the kind of thing that we have done in the past. And, you know, we've had people, you know, we go out and sometimes stand there, and I remember the most recent one was people standing on Netherlands Road where the multi-use path and the Riverway crosses Netherlands Road, and there's no crosswalk, and we were asking for a crosswalk there, and so we had people standing out there early in the morning, and it happened to be in, I think it was either January or February, in a freezing morning, and people were, you know, really freezing out there, but standing for half an hour and just counting how much traffic, car traffic versus pedestrian traffic there was, so we could make the case that there's really a need. This is really a heavily used crossing. Now, that still hasn't been done for a whole, it got very complicated working with parkland and drainage and a DPW facility driveway next door, and it's still in the planning phases, and that was several years ago, but at least, but that's the kind of thing we've done in the past, which was station people to count pedestrian traffic, et cetera. What has been, as Amy was explaining to us at our last meeting, the town, in terms of drivers, has much better information than it used to from the streetlight company that basically, you know, checks cell phone pings. What I don't know, you would think that you could use something of the same thing for pedestrians, because pedestrians are walking around carrying cell phones. So I'm not sure exactly how they discriminate what's a cell phone in a car versus a cell phone on a pedestrian. Maybe, you know, from the speed at which it's moving or something like that. They could collect the data and then parse the data, filter the data based on that. But I think it's worth asking the town what data they might be able to get on pedestrians. We know, for example, that the SUFA signs collect data on the number of cell phone pings they have. So that's one measure of pedestrian traffic in places where there are SUFA signs, but that's only a certain number of locations, mostly in North Brookline and in commercial areas. So I don't know what else. So I guess I think that I have been feeling that right at this moment, pushing forward to do more of these, apart from the thing I mentioned before, of like as you're walking around, spot places where intersections where there are curb cuts but no crosswalk. That's an observation. But I mean this sort of systematic observation where we actually go out and, you know, conduct systematic reviews, as we did with the sidewalk obstructions. I don't have the sense that we have the bandwidth for that right now, but am I being too pessimistic? What do people think?
No, I'm certainly happy to do some data collecting. I think with the curb cut stuff, I was just thinking, well, I'll at least go check off everything kind of in our little neighborhood here around the Hayes School this week, hopefully. So something I can do
Okay.
during the day for sure.
All right. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe it's picking things that don't take huge amounts of time and don't take us far away from our homes that we can do, as you say, you know, just where we're going anywhere, or maybe with slight detours around that, checking out neighboring intersections. So let's do that right now and see how well that works,
Yeah, I
rather
would.
than trying to. Yeah, Janice. Was that
No, I
what
would
you-
definitely add to that. I think sometimes potentially problematic areas are highlighted. So, for example, you were talking about, the Riverway issue. Marissa and I did that.
Yeah.
So we went out and we did that one. Or when we had the issue with the new signage, right on Red on Dean and Beacon.
Right. That's right.
I
Good
went and
point.
did that one. So
Yep.
I'm not averse to doing that on an as-needed basis if we think there are some problematic areas.
Okay, well then let's take the one that we've identified, the need for more crosswalks,
Mhm.
and do our observation about looking for specific examples to supply and suggestions. as we come back and, you know, basically submit that to DPW and the Transportation Board. Okay, that's good. Okay. I think that's actually a good approach. So it's neither, it's neither all in nor never again. Okay, Lynn,
Just to, Jim, we have that app where we can enter the data and they'll send it to the DPW. I wonder if if they could do that for the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, where you're looking at the crosswalks and you have an app so it will tell you where it is and you submit it so they know where the issue is and you can make comments. I don't know how you got that started with the town.
That was an app that they had already had to locate accessible parking spots. I don't know how deep that app goes. Does it actually do crosswalks, things of that nature? But the one that they gave to us that we're using right now for this data collection was something they already had in their system.
I wonder Jim, if we could just use Brook Online for it. You know, in other words, maybe they could add one more category called curb ramps. It takes a map of where you're standing when you put your Brook Online ticket in, and it allows you to put in the description, and it gives you the street and the intersection as well. It figures it out for itself. So if we put in if we ask them to put in something related to street called curb ramp issue, and in the description we put missing crosswalk, or if they put a new category, David, called missing crosswalk, that's it. We go out, we
So it's
select
even
missing
better, but-
crosswalk when we're standing there, and then it automatically collects your position, so they get the map and they know who submitted it, and that would be it. We'd get our missing crosswalk as an issue, and we'd be able to see within a short period of time. Say, you know, let's say Tommy and I blanket the whole Hayes School area, all the different intersections, both, you know, behind the school to the west and east towards Chestnut Hill till the Runkle School or something. So we could, you know, by just biking around and stopping at the curb cuts and showing the ones that had missing crosswalks, we just enter in Brook Online tickets called missing crosswalk tickets, and that would be it.
yeah, I mean, so that's
Ask
certainly
them to add it.
yeah, that's certainly a viable option. It takes, it's been my experience that it can take a while to get a change made to Brook Online, but we can certainly work on that. But in the meantime, I would still ask us to be doing some looking around our immediate neighborhoods of where we're going, where we're walking around, and capturing some examples. Basically, what you need to capture is the two cross streets. What's the intersection, A and B, and then are we talking about crosswalk across which one of those? So you can say it's you know, you list street A and street B, and you underline the street that doesn't have a crosswalk on it, so it's not too heavy a recording burden.
Well,
And
one
then
of the
we
things
can compile.
I was going to suggest, David, maybe we should just create a Google Sheet, share it with the members of the committee, and you
Yeah.
can access the Google Sheet from your cell phone. And when you're standing there, you can just type, you know, put in those columns. I can work with you on it if you want. I mean, you know, street A and the cross street. The whole sheets for missing crosswalks anyway. If you know, if we want people to enter GPS coordinates, you can get that from your phone as well. Whatever the street intersection should be enough. And that Google Sheet would have, you know, who went there, what it looks like, that it's there. That's all. The issue is it's a missing crosswalk. So if we just put in street A, street B, and whether it's on the north, south, east, or west corner, that's probably enough to know that it's an issue. And we could just share the
Yeah.
Google Sheet across the
Yeah.
committee, and anyone adding things, just add another row.
I
Who
think
you
we should
are.
keep
Okay.
we should keep a record of
Yeah, that would be
what
the
our
record.
routes
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
so we know what we've notified the town of. You think so,
Well,
David?
well, that sheet would be a record. I mean,
Yeah.
basically.
It would be
we
our
would-
record as opposed to an individual's record. Okay, fine, that's
Yeah,
great.
shared record,
No,
so anyone who, you know, just keep adding stuff in.
What Jesse is suggesting, which I think is a good thing we could do, you know, once we've done that between this meeting and the next meeting, then by the next meeting, we'll see how many we have. And once we build up to a number that we think makes a good case, I mean, what we're trying to do is not canvass the entire town. That would take too much time. What we're trying to do is provide enough instances of something that we think needs attention, and then we submit that list. So once we've entered that stuff into the Google Sheet, then we have a list that is ready to submit. So we just have to write a cover memo and say, here are examples.
Right.
Yeah, I like that idea, Jesse. So yeah, maybe offline we can put something together like that.
The other
Um,
comment I had about something to think about is maybe through with the town's help in terms of marketing it, some kind of campaign called like something like Heads Up. I mean, we could maybe partner with the Bicycle Advisory Committee on it as well. I mean, if you think about it, drivers are distracted, bikers are distracted, and pedestrians are distracted, and are all distracted by the same thing. This 3-inch by 5-inch thing that everybody has wedded to them. So you can see bikers on Beacon Street holding their bike with one hand and doing stuff on their phone on the other. Not that everybody does, God forbid, but there are people. You see people in cars, you can see them holding the phone, and you can see and pedestrians all over the place, you know, are walking around, of course, with their head in their phone a lot. So if we could partner with the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and I don't know, the T-Board and some communications arm of the town, perhaps, on some kind of campaign about keeping your head up, like enjoy what's around you in the world and stop looking in the phone kind of thing, that could reduce the risk for our committee, the risk to pedestrians by having your head down all the time and then sort of lifting it up only when you feel the ramp under your feet, you know, of, oh, I think I'm going into the street now. I should probably take a brief glance before I get run over. So, you know, the thing is, it would be interesting exercise, you know, in addition to our brochure, to maybe from our committee, we push some kind of campaign called Keep Your Head Up or something, whatever, heads up, or, you know, heads up, phone down, something like that, to get everyone in whatever mode of transportation they're using to look around themselves more, you know, enjoy what's there to
I mean,
look at, rather than look into.
yeah, I like the idea of sort of a slogan, the head up. I
Yeah,
like that. So something succinct and brief that everybody can say, and then once the word gets around, people know what you're talking about.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
I like that. Okay, that's a great idea. Okay. Have okay, yeah. I have to think about how to do that. I'll chat with Emily Jacobson, chairs the Bicycle Advisory Committee. And yeah, maybe some others. See about what we can do here. I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm not exactly sure how to go about it, but I'm intrigued by the idea. Okay. Other ideas about things we can do, how to go about them, right? Or should we say we've done a good job with this topic right now? And we bring it back for the next meeting with some more specifics and hopefully with some data that we've collected. That makes sense? Okay, I'm seeing head nodded. Okay. Then in that case, I wasn't sure, you know, how many things to put on the agenda for tonight. I thought we might race through things, or we might not. We might, so I allowed for the possibility of longer discussions that turned out not to be so needed. So this has been good. So we are sort of towards the end of the agenda. There, we did mention as I said, the Jeff Speck's talk, and you know, 2 nights from now. So that's a good thing to attend. I also want to poll people's. Jesse brought up the fact that, you know, okay, so October is a problem for our meeting, our regularly scheduled meeting. The second Monday turns out to be the Indigenous Peoples' Day holiday, so we don't meet on public holidays. I had suggested meeting before that, but Jesse pointed out that Sukkot is basically happening on that. I think it was Sukkot, but if I'm saying it wrong, Jesse, correct me.
it's
But
yeah, the emphasis is on Sukkot, but okay, yeah.
Sukkot, sorry. And so I suggested maybe we should meet on October 20th, Monday off the 20th. So it's basically like the third Monday in the month. So can the people here tonight, are you available to meet on Monday? I'm seeing Janice is nodding. And Jesse, Anita, Tommy, okay, so let's
Thank
plan on, and I will poll Carrie and Jonathan and see if they're able to do it, but so right now, let's tentatively plan on October 20th as our next meeting. I think that would be good. Any other comments? We might actually adjourn early tonight. Any new business we should think about, or any suggestions for topics we should come back to in October? Okay, well, there's plenty of time between now and the next meeting to suggest topics, so please have your thinking caps on, as they say, and collect this data. This will be good. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Jesse, seconded by Anita, without further ado, and thirded by Jesse. So, I will declare the meeting as adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Happy
you.
to have a short one every now and then. Good night.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, David.